Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Media Pulse, the show where we help you make sense of Thai politics.
This week we'll start with the biggest political news story of the week.
Yeah,
And we're talking about the ongoing efforts to amend the constitution. If successful, these efforts will eventually result in the drafting of an entirely new constitution. But for those who are behind these efforts, things are obviously easier said than done, as the political drama in the parliament in the past 2 days has shown.
Yes, and we're talking about the two bills proposed separately by Thepchai, the core of the ruling Paetongtarn coalition government, and the People's Party, which is the largest party in the opposition bloc. The two bills essentially seek to open the way for a new constitution to be drafted.
The two bills may differ in some details, but they both want the new constitution to be drafted by elected representatives of the people from various walks of life, forming the so-called People's Constitution Drafting Council.
The two parties believe that a constitution reflecting the will and aspirations of the people and written with wide public participation is essentially for advancing the country's democracy.
Okay. And of course, you must be wondering what is wrong with the current constitution, right?
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, despite its many positive aspects, the current constitution is seen as a legacy of the military dictatorship.
Yeah.
And as we all know, the current constitution was adopted while the military junta that took power in 2014 was still in office. And even though the constitution was endorsed in a national referendum in 2017, its legitimacy continues to be questioned up to today. Critics point out that the referendum back then was held under the shadow of a military dictatorship and was far from being free and fair.
Yeah, I remember the opponents of the constitution were not allowed to publicly campaign against it. So in short, back then, you could only say good things about the constitution, right? Any bad things that you said about it can land you in jail.
All right. Now back to the two bills which were proposed by the Thepchai and the People's Party. The two bills were put on the agenda of a joint parliamentary session on Thursday and Friday, but their sponsors and supporters were under no illusion that it was going to be a smooth sailing.
No, the bills have had many opponents as well as proponents. Their biggest stumbling blocks are members of the Senate, actually, who have made known their position against the two bills. And it so happens that on this issue, many of the senators are speaking the same language as key members of the Phumjai Thai party.
Theoretically speaking, the senators are supposed to be politically non-partisan. But it's an open secret that a sizable number of them are affiliated with Phumjai Thai party. On the eve of the aborted parliamentary debate on the bills, Phumjai Thai leader Kun Anuthin Chanvirakul, who doubles as Deputy Prime Minister and Interior Minister, announced that MPs of his party would boycott the joint parliamentary session, simply saying that we don't want to have anything to do with the debate.
Open secret. I like that word. So Kun Anuthin shares the same line of argument by members of the Senate who are against the bill. He said there should be a clear ruling by the Constitutional Court as to whether a referendum is needed before the Parliament can convene on a constitutional amendment. The Constitutional Court ruled in a case in 2021 that any amendment to the Constitution needs to be preceded by a national referendum, but there have been different interpretations of the ruling.
Yeah. So does merely debating bills aimed at amending the Constitution, as parliamentarians have attempted to do, constitute an act of amending the Constitution?
Well, the proponents of the bills don't think so. That's why they have wanted to go ahead with the joint parliamentary debate on the two bills. And in their view, if the bills are endorsed, a referendum can follow for the people to decide whether they agree to having a constitutional amendment or to having a new constitution.
But their opponents believe otherwise. They argue that merely debating the two bills already constitutes an act of amending the Constitution, something they believe must be preceded by a national referendum.
This is a complicated issue.
Right.
So in the course of the initial parliamentary debate on the first day, so on Thursday, Premsak Phiyayura, a senator and a veteran politician, proposed a motion seeking to have the Constitutional Court rule whether a referendum is needed before the legislators can debate and vote on the two constitutional amendment bills.
Several senators and MPs voiced support for the motion, expressing fears that the debate on the Constitution amendment bills, if they went ahead, could be unconstitutional. But the motion was quickly defeated. But as Parliament President Wan Muhammad Noor was about to proceed with the debate on the two bills, there was a call for a quorum check. And by the time many senators and MPs who were against the bills had already left the chamber to boycott the session.
So among them were MPs of Thepchai Thai Party, whose Secretary General Chaichanok Chitchop had made it clear from the outset that they were not going to take part in the debate on the bills. And MPs of Palang Pracharat and other smaller opposition parties also joined the boycott. And without the necessary quorum, the Parliament President had no choice but to order the session adjourned to the next day, which is Friday.
And when the joint parliamentary session resumed Friday morning, it was clear that things were not going to get better for supporters of the bills, with most of the legislators absent. Another quorum check was called.
Yes, and again, Parliament President Wan was compelled to adjourn the session for a lack of quorum. As a result, the bill will be put on the back burner, and there is no guarantee when they will be put back on the parliamentary agenda again.
Now we have talked to a number of MPs supporting the bills. They admitted that there is little or no chance that the bills will see the light of the day before the next general elections. But one thing we need to make clear is that even if the bills were taken up in the parliament and eventually put to a vote, there was no guarantee that they would make it through, because the main stumbling block would be the Senate.
So this might not be a bad thing after all, having it shelved for a while. So given the stance taken by many senators, it is highly unlikely that the bill will pass the threshold in the upper house. And that explains the ambivalence among MPs of the Pheu Thai Party, which officially wants to push through the bills. But on the other hand, the party was aware that the bill would never make it through in the Senate. And that's why they were happy to have the debate and the vote on the bills delayed rather than seeing them derailed altogether, knowing full well that the opposition of the majority of the senators, they opposed it.
Yeah, this is important because under the current constitution, any constitutional amendment requires the support of a simple majority of members of both houses, the lower house and the upper houses, which must also include 1/3 of the Senate members. So that is the catch.
Yeah, that's right. There's Kun Sutin Kang Sang, a key figure of the Pheu Thai, admitted that he and his colleagues in the party saw little chance of the bills being endorsed by the Senate, and that's why they chose to see the session adjourned, both on Thursday and Friday, by not attending the quorum checks rather than risking defeat of the bills.
Let's take a closer look at the two bills.
Yeah.
Because even though the bills proposed by Pheu Thai and the People's Party seek to ultimately have a new constitution drafted, the bills have one very significant difference. Pheu Thai makes it clear that any revision of the constitution under its bill will not touch sections 1 and 2 of the constitution, which deal with the monarchy. The bill proposed by the People's Party, meanwhile, calls for a blanket revision, not sparing even the sections dealing with the monarchy.
Yeah. And speaking of politics, you might wonder what bananas have to do with the constitutional amendments as seen on the screen.
A lot of them too.
Yeah, a lot of bananas. If this is in the West, it would be construed as racist. But in Thai, there's a saying that things are as easy as peeling a banana.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's in the Western saying as well. But anyway, we have dozens of pro-democracy activists rallied in the front of the parliament with bananas. This happened during the joint House sessions on Thursday to voice their support for the constitutional amendment bills. Many of them also brought with them cartloads of bananas.
Why? Why bananas? We believe that amending the constitution should be as easy as peeling a banana, explained one of the demonstrators to Thai PBS.
Yeah, the failure of the legislators to take up the constitutional amendment bills for debate must come as a big disappointment for the demonstrator, I think, because one of them told Thai PBS that we see this as an attempt to block any constitutional changes in order to prolong the use of the current constitution.
Most disappointed must be Kun Nattapong Rungpanyawut, leader of the People's Party, who lamented the failure of the parliament to take up the bills for debate. He accused legislators opposed to the bills of lacking political courage.
Yeah, so what do political analysts make out of the whole political drama? Because we can actually call this a drama. Yeah, they seem to share the view that it is all about playing politics. They believe that even Pheu Thai Party has never been truly serious about amending the constitution, even though it was one of its key election campaign pledges.
And in their view, the Thepchai Thai Party is even more reluctant to meddle with the constitution. They said the party has even benefited from the current constitution, pointing to the Senate election last year, in which many candidates affiliated with Thepchai Thai Party triumphed. Yeah. Right? The Senate election was held under the rules set out under the current constitution and were heavily criticized by a lot of critics of not being democratic.
Political analysts noted that the People's Party seemed to be the only party that has been earnestly pushing for a new constitution. Along the way, it was misled to believe that Pheu Thai Party was also serious about it, that it would work to convince partners in the coalition, especially Thepchai Thai, to go along with the bills, but apparently not. In the end,
the backtrack.
Yeah, I know. Pheu Thai backtrack.
So one political analyst has this to say about the People's Party. This only shows how politically naive the leadership of the People's Party is. These young politicians are no match for those veterans in Pheu Thai Party. And this statement came from Dr. Olan Thin Bang Teo, a well-known political scientist who described the whole affair as part of political bargaining. And in the end, the People's Party suffered from its naivety.
So what will happen next? The constitutional amendment bills have hit a roadblock, but it's not dead yet, right? So what is certain is that there is little likelihood of a new constitution materializing by the time of the next general election scheduled for 2027 or 2 years from now.
And this means that one of the most enduring legacies of the military dictatorship will continue to cast its long shadow over Thai politics and for some time to come.
Whoever wrote the current constitution somehow kind of did well.
That's right.
Anyway, talking about politics, we're going to have to talk about this prominent figure in Thai politics. He's around everywhere.
That's right. And ever since he returned from self-exile in August 2023, this guy, Kun Thaksin Shinawatra, has never stopped making headlines, right?
Yes, after 17 years, he's back. And now he has returned to the political scene in full force, acting as if he holds the future of Thai politics in his hand. And his words appear to serve as commands for everyone in the ruling Pheu Thai Party and its allies.
But yet, there's one thing, something that is very close to his heart, that Thaksin remains uncertain about whether he truly has the power to control. That is bringing home his sister Yingluck Shinawatra, also a former prime minister.
Yeah. So for a while, he made the Thai media believe that Yingluck's possible return was no longer a matter of if, but a matter of when. So even, some media have even sarcastically suggested a countdown. So if Thaksin has his way, he would love to have his 58-year-old sister back home in April this year to celebrate Songkran, the New Year festival, which is less than 2 months away.
In fact, he has even set a deadline for her return. He has confidently suggested that Yingluck should be able to come home in time to celebrate the Songkran festival, the water festival. But he has stopped short of saying how.
Yeah, and then he was questioned early this week. He appeared uncertain somehow, which is quite a backtrack, as to whether she would be able to make it home by that time. Yeah, he said certain factors need to be taken into consideration.
This is the first time that he has shown some kind of uncertainty about the return of the potential return of his sister, because before this, when he had always been confident,
exactly.
saying again and again that she'll be home soon, she'll be home soon, and as we mentioned that he even set the deadline, Songkran festival, that is in the middle of April.
Yeah.
A month, less than 2 months from now, right?
Yeah, now we're not sure if that's going to happen or not. So Yingluck has been in self-exile since 2017. She was ousted as Prime Minister in 2014 by the Constitutional Court for abuse of power. And then she actually fled the country in 2017 on the day that she was supposed to appear in court over the controversial rice subsidy program. There was a trial verdict on that day. She left home, but didn't turn up to court.
And the court sentenced her to 5 years in prison in absentia for negligence of duty that caused the state to suffer massive losses in the rice scheme. And many political analysts link Yingluck's possible return to the ongoing process by the Department Corrections to implement a new regulation that would allow prisoners to serve their remaining jail terms outside traditional prison facilities. Under the proposed regulation, qualified inmates would transit from incarceration to alternative forms of detention. That means they could serve their sentences at assigned detention facilities or even at home under certain conditions.
Yeah, they have been trying to deny that the new regulations is just a part of the efforts to address the overcrowding problems in prison facilities. And the department reported recently that it has already completed an online opinion survey to gather feedback to the new regulation, but did not say when it would take effect.
Yeah. And of course, Justice Minister Kun Thavisotsong has been bombarded with questions about news about Kun Yingluck's possible return. And he has taken pains to refute speculation that the new regulation that we're talking about was designed to benefit Yingluck. He explained that only inmates sentenced to a prison term of 4 years or less will be eligible to serve their remaining terms at alternative prison facilities.
Yeah, as we know, Yingluck has been sentenced to 5 years in prison. According to political analysts, it would not be a surprise that upon her return to Thailand, Yingluck would be given a royal commutation, meaning that her 5-year jail term could be reduced to less than 4 years, which means she can fit into that requirement of spending time out of jail.
And meaning that she would not have to spend her time behind bars. And of course, we must not forget that when her brother Thaksin returned to Bangkok in 2023, after 17 years in self-exile, he was granted a royal commutation, reducing his 8-year prison term to just 1 year before being granted a royal pardon last year. So if Yingluck receives treatment similar to that of her brother, it should not come as a surprise.
Yeah, after all, political analysts have long viewed Yingluck's possible return as part of a broader deal, primarily aimed at reinstating Thaksin politically in exchange for his role in curbing the rise of an anti-establishment political force.
And now that Thaksin is back and enjoying the political limelight as the power broker, and with his daughter Patchimanon occupying the country's top executive post, there is one immediate mission for him to accomplish, that is bringing home his sister Yingluck. And you can be sure that Thaksin will not rest until his mission is accomplished.
He's persistent. He's persistent. That's a good character. I mean, since his return to Thailand in August 2023, Thaksin has been an important reference point for reporters, I want to say, because his sound bites are always very useful. And Yingluck's return is just one example.
It looks like we have to escape from talking about Thaksin. Right?
No. The term Thaksin speaks, the government executes has been around for months now, and it is still true to a great extent. We are going to highlight this week's issue, which happened after he mentions it. And here's a survey of the headlines. This headline from Thairat Online on the 9th of February says, Thaksin held talks with the finance minister. Candidate's name for chairperson of the Bank of Thailand board will be revealed in 2 days. He also points out the 2 requirements for the chairperson. And to be fair, the talks about finding the right candidates for this position have been around since the end of last year, if we remember when the Council of State ruled that Kitirat Naranong was not qualified. And then one day after he said this, look what happened. Here's the headline. So,
But there are questions as to in what capacity that Thaksin answers the questions concerning the appointment of chairman of the board of Bank of Thailand.
Nah, he doesn't have any formal position in the government nor in the Pheu Thai party, but he is the prime minister's father.
That's very important. That is the most important position.
He's the boss.
In Thai politics.
The boss of the boss. Thaksin is not only a useful reference point for information, but he is actually also very helpful with his connection. And so this week he enlisted one of his acquaintances to explore ideas to help promote Thai fashion as soft power. And when Thaksin speaks, things happen accordingly.
Things moved very quickly. Yeah.
So here's the headline. We see Thaksin invites Naomi to consult on how to promote Thai models on the global stage, right? And then Prime Minister Paetongtarn had a meeting with Naomi Campbell. So Thaksin speaks, things happen. The conversation was focused on how to promote Thai models and Thai fashion on the international stage. And I saw a social media post by Naomi Campbell. She wrote that drawing from my global fashion experience, I'm thrilled to help create accessible pathways that will bring Thai creativity to the global stage. But at the bottom, she says also wearing at then a name of a French luxury fashion brand. So she's going to take Thai fashion global, wearing a French brand.
Okay. But it's quite clear that the incident has been receiving very close attention from the Thai media. A very positive coverage of this move, right?
Yes. We have a report from the Daily News as well. It also covers the conversation between the two, meaning the Prime Minister and Naomi. They talked about the famous Marc Jacobs dress, which Naomi wore, and our PM also bought when she was in 3rd year at university.
No, it's very important to point out that the current Prime Minister of Thailand has a taste for fashion. And many of her outfits, especially on overseas trips, stand out from other world leaders. And the Thai media have never failed to focus on what she wears every time she goes abroad.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of outfits, and then she kind of stands out when you see, official photos where leaders line up in front of a background, and she always stands up. Either her shoes, her dress, she's a fashionista, and yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Naomi Campbell. To have this role in promoting Thai fashion may provide her some respite from the case at home, actually. So according to the BBC, she is challenging the 5-year ban from being a charity trustee.
And this story was quickly picked up by the Thai media in the aftermath of her appearance at the government house.
Yes,
right?
exactly, yeah. So the report by the BBC actually follows a finding by the Charity Commission inquiry that finds that the funds in a charity she founded were mismanaged. Yeah. But Naomi's representative said that the decision was reached based on misleading documents all in all, it's an ongoing case, but she's not scandal-free. And I'm sure most of our viewers know that Naomi is from South London and she has Jamaican roots. She was a very successful model and fashion icon in the 90s, and her experience in global fashion industry spans over 3 decades.
Okay.
There's a caveat though.
Okay. What is it?
Wow. Remember last month, Thaksin was in Chiang Rai campaigning in the local elections.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And he briefly said something about his perception towards Thai models. He actually said that Thai models do not need plastic surgery as they look better than models of other races who have dark skin and flat noses. And this is interpreted by many as a racist comment.
Yeah. And of course, his daughter, Prime Minister Pratongtan, quickly came out in his defense.
Yeah. Not sure how Naomi feels about it.
Okay.
But Thaksin was not referring to Jamaicans for sure, so maybe she doesn't mind.
Definitely. All right.
Anyway, from constitutional amendment to fashion, I'm not sure how we got here, but
I know, but all have to do with Thaksin.
exactly, all have to do with Thai politics somehow. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the program. We'll see you again next week.
Okay. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.